Well, maybe you can. Maybe Maple will have some commentary for us. I don't know.
I'm sure she does.
Maple loves me. It's Chuck's dog, Maple.
It's so funny. Every time she hears Brad's voice, she comes running and wants to go outside and chase squirrels. I don't know, man.
I bring out the hunter in her,
I guess. So how you doing?
I am good, sir. We are. This is like we've done like 9 of these. This will be 9, I think.
Almost to 10. We almost made it to double digits.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
What do you got?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what do you have?
Oh, I thought I was going to say, let's go through some news, and then I probably could have shared my screen first. That would have been a great freaking idea. Okay, screen. If I'd had that ready, should I just do this window? Why don't you talk a little second while I get this?
Well, so this week was interesting because in the course of about a day of discussing and then about 30 minutes worth of work, we added RAG capability into Kilroy that wasn't there before. So
yep,
we're going to talk about that. That was kind of, I guess at some point when you've got a mature product like this and you've got an architecture that you understand, adding stuff to it happens pretty fast after a while. So.
Yep. All right, is that showing?
Yep.
Awesome. So I just want to bring this up real quickly. We've talked about Apple's strategy quite a bit. I don't know how you pronounce Craig's last name. Federici?
Have at it.
He's the guy that's always on stage.
Craig's a great guy. I've had interactions with him in the past, and he and his staff are really secretly developer advocates. He's been very helpful on projects.
Nice. Well, I'm disappointed in their so-called strategy because, we've talked about this before, right? They have superior hardware. They have superior inferencing for that hardware and software. They have the operating system built in. They have their own LLMs, but evidently they don't have enough confidence in what they have created themselves to put it. They have it in the operating system, right? We can inference on an LLM within the most recent versions of Mac OS, and it's available on devices too. So iPad and iPhone, whatever. They have superior GPUs. They have just everything they need to be a powerhouse, but they continue to rely on other people. So now Google is winning out to be the voice of, or the LLM of Siri. And I don't know if it's because it's the architecture that Google already has for processing this stuff, and Apple still doesn't have those private pipelines available yet. But I'm really having a difficult time understanding why they continue to depend on these companies, unless they just don't have their infrastructure.
Well, so let me, I have two opinions because they're certainly not based in any knowledge or fact, but allow me to share my 2 opinions.
Sure.
So first of all, they caught so much heat and so much PR flack when they were going to roll out Apple Intelligence, and then they didn't. And then they did. They've crashed through like 2 WWDCs now with no meaningful release. So I think there's some kind of imperative internal to the company that says, put the features out there that people expect to see when you say Apple Intelligence. Yep. And here's the thing. The stuff that you and I do with these things, and the stuff with people with a technical background or people who are power users, the stuff that they want to do is the stuff that I think Apple had on their roadmap. And it was the stuff that they were building towards, and the stuff that would be supported by all that cool hardware and software infrastructure. But I think what's happened is the mass market, and Apple always markets your grandmother, right?
Right.
This is so easy. You can do it. Anybody can do it. You're not going to mess up. And that's a little bit of hyperbole because they probably market people who are grandmother-like in their computer usage too. The point is that the market shifted on them. I think what they thought was going to be personal assistant integrated with your home automation and your media consumption and all the things that you think you want to do with your computer agent suddenly turned into write my term paper for me. Right. And I think that they didn't have an offering that was a general knowledge offering that was designed to do that text-oriented work that people seem to have decided that these things are easy to use for, right? So I think that coupled with the fact that I got to believe there's a financial motive under here too. I mean, look at what went on with Apple Maps versus Google Maps, Apple Search, Google Search, where, killed off Sherlock, whatever. There was a financial incentive for Apple to ship Google Search, right?
Right.
I am sure that the data that comes from people using Google's interfaces to their AIs through Apple's hardware is more valuable to Google than it is to Apple because of Apple's privacy stances. They won't do stuff with that data.
Right.
But Google would pay Apple to collect it for them and send it on to their agents.
Yeah.
So they don't say it. It's not disclosed. You'd have to probably hunt through.
It's actually interesting. They do talk more about it here. And that when he came in, everybody was pissed off at the internal LLM teams, and that their infrastructure really probably wasn't ready yet. And he wants to get something to market fast, just like you said. And so they're going to rely on Google in the short term until they get their private cloud compute system functioning. And they also say he was waiting till the compute infrastructure dropped, and they want to emphasize on-device processing, which I think is the smart move with their private cloud compute system. But I guess they're just not ready yet.
Well, you got to look too. I think right now the software stack for this is not matured to the point that it can take advantage of what Apple ships as its baseline hardware. If you look at what ships for a MacBook Air in terms of RAM and
the RAM is the problem there.
Right. They don't ship beefy enough machines to run current models in any responsive way.
Yeah.
That's not Apple's fault. That's the fault of the people who are making this janky software, because they have budget, they have big, huge server farms, and they're not incentivized to be more efficient. If you look at these quantized models, these 1B models and things like that, for most day-to-day stuff, if you're not using it to write your term paper, but you're using it to do the things like what we do, they're perfectly good models.
Yeah.
Right? They do what they need to do, and they don't add a bunch of extra BS to give you confirmation bias and get you to spend more tokens.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I think
it's saying that they are still working on their models. The LLM team is saying that they were never given direction on how the models would be used, so they didn't know what they were creating it for. It just sounds like it was a clusterfuck on the
right. Well,
management.
It's typical where somebody jumps on it and gets out over their skis, and the product people come in later. And if you're lucky, you were on target and you ship, and if you weren't, your project gets killed.
Yeah, and you gave me a perfect segue to two other stories, so I'm going to go to the one about Google first. Google's AI mode can now tap into your Gmail and photos to provide tailored responses. So got all of that spin, right? And once I have email on Kilroy, I won't worry about it anymore. But
Her Royal Highness has returned. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. But essentially, you're going to give Google permission to tap into your Gmail and photos so you get tailored responses, which of course then means Google has your data sucked into the platform. And, it's what we always harp on. Centralized AI is going to have everything about your life, right? And that's, we talk all the time about own your own data in social media, or the fact that we're so reliant on folks like Google for email and calendars and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this is, as we harp on every episode, the next level, because eventually compute is replaced with AI, apps are replaced with AI, and then your entire life is in there. And so your life, your kids' life, their education, every aspect of the news you get, the information you get, your point of view is all going to come from that. And if you want that controlled by another company, more power to you. It's not my preference for my life and my family's.
Regardless of who controls it, it's a single point of failure. You want to take out an entire country's business infrastructure, shut down their AI cloud.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And everything's gone. I mean, it's just like the implementation of XAI into the Defense Department, right? Is X going to provide those models in-house and let them have full control over them? Or is X going to be hosting the Defense Department's data? Knowing Elon Musk,
I can't believe that's anything other than marketing PR, because just knowing what I know about classified projects, they would never let that thing within a mile of a classified network.
That was before. we also wouldn't have allowed outside contractors with no screening access to our social security information at the IRS. But
well, I think when there's a guy standing outside the door to your skiff with an M16, it's a little bit more problematic about whether or not you're going to walk.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Maybe.
I sent you this video. I'd never seen this guy Network Chuck, but this was fascinating to me. And because it's tied back into the Apple thing, I had seen a couple of months ago that huge orders, enterprise orders were coming in for Apple Studios. It turns out that corporate America realizes the cost value proposition, despite the incredible price you pay for RAM and storage on these devices, of Apple's GPU capabilities. And there's a platform called EXO, which is an open source platform that allows you to pool resources from Apple and Linux devices. And it's actually a really cool platform, but unfortunately, this guy had previously taken 4 Mac Studios of varying sizes and RAM and GPUs and put them together, but it was incredibly slow using that EXO platform. Well, if you are an Apple platform company or user and you have multiple devices, Apple in the most recent version of Tahoe has released a new technology called RDMA that allows via Thunderbolt connections for the GPUs to share resources and memory back and forth directly and at an incredible increase in speed. Went from 300 microseconds between devices for the data transfers to 3 microseconds.
So that's like 2 orders of magnitude. That's like 100 times more data going across the pipe.
Yeah, it's pretty astounding. And his testing, I'll put a link to this video because it's pretty fascinating and it's something I would love to do. His testing showed, 3x, 5x, 7x increases in AI interaction speeds across.
When you sent this around the other day, I said, "Oh, let me go price out a new Mac Studio." So, whatever it is, the Ultra CPU, the double CPU,
yeah,
an Ultra with, I think it was only 96 gigs, and I think they'll sell you up to 128 or 256,
512.
Oh, well, see, that's crazy, right? So they've already figured out they needed to bump the RAM up, because I think the one that I got several years ago has got 32 gigs, and I thought I was a badass.
I got 64, and I thought I was bad, but yeah.
Live and learn, right? I'm still hoping, like Craig, that they'll figure out how to shoehorn LLMs into smaller amounts of RAM. But it was $4,000 for the box that I thought would be a good middle of the road box.
These 4 boxes together are 50 grand. But if you're a corporate enterprise, you can now run any model. Like there is no limit. You can run the largest open source models from XAI.
And you know what, Brad? You put Kilroy on top of that in a swarm, and everybody in your enterprise can use it as if it was on their desktop.
Well, and all these GPUs can be shared and fast, right? I mean, it's beautiful. It's freaking fantastic. I'm setting that up on my network right now because I was sitting there banging my head against the wall using IP addresses.
Well, it doesn't have to be Mac Studios. You could run that cable between your MacBook Pro and your Mac Studio.
That's what I have right now. That's how I network between them to share screen. So
what you need to put is a link to the proper Thunderbolt cable that you need to buy for that to work.
Yeah, I have a really high end one I got, but yeah, you're right.
Just any old USB-C cable isn't going to do it. You have
no. And I will say, this is really interesting. This XO interface is really cool. It's going to be hard to see in this video, but oops, there's an.
At least it's an innocuous ad.
The interface for this system is really cool because it constantly shows you all the available bandwidth, the temperature of the devices, everything else. This is a really cool platform, this XO platform. So anyway, how much time we have left? Oh, I need to wrap it up.
Let's do another story and then we got to show our toy.
All right, let me see which one I want. Oh, here we go. Jamie Dimon says we may need to slow the rollout of AI if we want to save society. I mean, look, I'm glad to see, the chair of or CEO of JP Morgan being concerned about the layoffs that are coming and the changes to society that are coming. But the idea that somehow we're going to slow AI is just ludicrous. It's like saying we're going to slow the internet. It's insane. We're not going to slow it. the folks who, kind of decide
I
where the
gotta tell you that a dude with French cuffs on his coat shoving his fist in the air is not really going to be a person that I view as a thought leader in AI technology.
That's absolutely the case. Absolutely the case. But look, for him to call it out and say, hey, we need to start thinking about what the hell we're going to do when this impacts society is a good thing to see. Like we need people in power to be able to say, oh, wait a minute, this is going to change everything. So
we can't find buyers for these 12 IPOs that we've got queued up. So let's kick the can.
Exactly. One more quick note. The guys who made VLLM, which we don't use because it's not Apple compatible, but it's one of the largest inferencing engines. It's the largest used inferencing engine above Ollama. Because it's actually supposed to be really fast with NVIDIA chips. They raised $150 million to make a pay-for-use inferencing engine off of VLLM called Inferact. But they're going to take all the tech from the service provider back to the open source project, which is cool. So
that's cool.
150 million for an open source inferencing tool hosted service, just like Ollama's.
So let me show you the cool open source thing that I scrounged up. Share my browser.
Wait. Oh, there it is. Okay, your browser window.
So I think it was Tuesday that we were poking around in the bushes and turned up RLlama. And the way that I actually found it, tragically, was to ask Google, hey, I want to find a desktop-only solution to do a full stack RAG on my machine that works with Ollama.
Right.
This was the first thing that it barfed out. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do any more homework. Let's go look at this project. And it ticked all the boxes except for maybe one. It's all in Python, I think, but there's a lot of it that's in Go, so that's okay. But still, the thing that was cool about it is that this is a single person project that I think has gotten a fair amount of traction. I mean, it's got over 1,000 GitHub stars. That lets you run a full RAG stack, which includes the stuff to build your RAG data sets and vectorize and put your embeddings out there for use with Ollama. It's designed to talk to the OpenAI API interfaces in Ollama and work with the models that are in there. So you can have different RAG data sets that are built on top of different LLMs, and they all get served up seamlessly. And because they built in an API, you can run this as a standalone server. So you can have RLlama running as a standalone server, talking to your Ollama running as a standalone server, and Kilroy can get to them wherever they are and use them. So played with this a little bit on Tuesday, played with it a little bit more on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, I decided, you know what, this is not that hard to jam into our pipeline stuff. So I said, well, let's do that. And so I made a new block for our pipeline editor. We have our usual chat agent talking to a swarm, and we have another agent over here, but we have this new thing called RAG agent. And it's, for all practical purposes, functionally the same in one of our pipeline diagrams as a regular LLM agent, but the difference is instead of talking to Ollama or OpenAI or whoever you're using with your AI endpoint, like if you look in here, we have a OpenAI endpoint that we're talking to, which happens to be Ollama on my local machine, but it could be ChatGPT or whatever. Instead, these things have some special parameters down here that tell this agent, hey, you know what, ignore all that stuff. You're not really going to go talk to an LLM. We're going to be using RAG, and you're going to talk to a RAG source called, in this case, conversation. And the URL to use is up here. And if you notice, that's not a typical OpenAI API URL. It's this localhost, different port number / RAG. And that's how you talk to RLlama on your local machine.
And so the idea is that we can load documents into RLlama and make them available to agents for
so it can be
interpretation or data retrieval or whatever.
Your own personal data. It could be, a stream of pricing information that you've collected on some equities for a year. It could be, the minutes from your local garden club. It could be
documentation, whatever.
Documentation about an API. It could be case history reports out of a clinical, trial. It doesn't matter, right? And it has support for a lot of different document types, structured documents like PDF or spreadsheets, plain text. It understands lots of different source languages, so you can feed in code projects. It'll pretty much gobble up most of the stuff that normal people deal with. And then you just use a few simple command line things. And rather than go into the gory details, it's on this website, which is rllama.dev, llama with only one L. And you generate up your document set, you run the API server, and then you switch back over to Kilroy and you make a little pipeline that includes it, right? And this pipeline has 3 boxes in it, mostly because this thing puts out some extra stuff in every response. When you talk to it directly and say, hey, find me this thing. What's this documentation? What happened last month in my garden club meeting, whatever. It comes back in a relatively standard format of here's what the answer was that I found across all these documents in the RAG database. And here's the documents that they came from. It's a little bit annoying. So for this demo that I'm going to show you in a second, I added a little cleanup agent to clean up the responses from the RAG. So basically the chat agent tells the RAG to go do some results. It puts those back into the swarm. The cleanup agent takes the RAG agent's results, reformats them a little bit, and sends them back to the user. And the system prompt for the cleanup agent is basically, you're an agent that receives output from another agent. Only return the original content received, modified as instructed. If the content contains a reference to a source document, remove it. If the content contains reference to a correct response, and I'll explain that one in a minute, only return that. Return the modified original with no other commentary, right? Keep yourself quiet. Now, I built this pipeline to talk to a RAG that was built on top of Llama 3, our old buddy Llama 3. This cleanup agent is also Llama 3. The real reason is for the performance requirements, because our Llama has a lot of interpreted code in it. It's not the speediest to get things done. I'm going to go ahead and build the conversation RAG element while we're talking. And I'll tell you, I'm going to start it so that it can start up and run.
Let me show.
I have a
Give me show the screen.
Over the terminal window because it's running right now. This is a folder full of small files that have a question from a user and a proper response from the machine that should be given. So it is basically used to keep the LLMs from hallucinating answers and to give correct answers. If this was your frequently asked questions for your website, or it was API documentation about your project or whatever, this would help you provide more structured, proper responses than a generally trained LLM would. All right, so that's done, right? It's created. So now I can just tell it to, where is it? Run it. I don't want to delete it. I want to run it. That's not it. Come on, Chuck. Well, our Llama API. All right, so that's going to start at the API server in a minute. And I already have this pipeline instantiated. So this thing's going to start up and say it's running. Switch me back to the browser. And here's the pipeline running, right? It's up and running, ready to talk. It's asking, for our typical input. This is the output from the RAG LLM. This is the output from the cleanup.
Okay.
LLM. And as soon as I see in the other window that it started the API server, I'm going to, props to anybody in the audience who figures out where this comes from. So I'm going to, what's your name? And now this is where it takes a while. It's got to spin up the LLM. It's got to go talk to it and get the RAG responses back. And you'll see this yellow light go out when it hands it off over here to the cleanup agent to get rid of the document references. And then we should get an answer back over here. No chickens were sacrificed in the making of this demo, so there's no guarantee that it's going to do what we expect. There we go.
There you go. Tony.
Tony, exactly.
And it shows you the source on that side. That's cool.
Right.
So you had loaded it up and told it in the source document in the CSV file that its name was Tony.
Right.
Yeah.
Guess what?
We definitely need a faster LLM for demo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this was easy. It literally took me 30 minutes to build this RAG system into Kilroy. It was just that straightforward. You really want to know? All right, sure. Guess what I did last night?
Jeez, dude.
If this works, I am going to go sacrifice a chicken.
All right. It would seem the right thing to do.
Right. Come on, you can do it. Here it comes. I see it answering. Did you bring my mother in? All right, so that did exactly what we wanted it to do. It was Llama 3. It's a little stupid 4B model. It's running locally. It's not the fastest thing in the world because of the interpreted version of our Llama. But if you want to play around with RAG and have it integrated with Kilroy, I don't know the easier way to do this. This was a one-line installation.
Right.
Installed itself. Another one line to build the RAG system, one line to start it up, and then off to Kilroy to talk to it for forever now.
I'm going to play with it today because last night or was it yesterday we were playing with it or day before?
Yeah.
I was able to load my entire 7,000 markdown files that are in my logseek knowledge graph. And I asked it, what is Kilroy? I don't have the response open anymore, but it was spot on. Gave a nice summary, talked about the product, even gave it a tagline. It was like pretty powerful. I was like, well, that's,
I did that with some old white papers that we had about the company and the principles in the company and what we were trying to do. And you could ask, hey, what's Brad's bio? And it would pull out the bio. It's like, what's the company trying to do? It would give the mission statement. It was I was really impressed because it's not trained on those things. And,
right.
People who haven't used a RAG-based system before, it's kind of magical because suddenly your specific data is showing up in the system the way that you want it to look.
Right.
So there are a lot of applications that I think people have shied away from when they use these AI systems because ChatGPT doesn't use your local RAG. Right? You can find some runners like LM Studio or some of the other interfaces that will Open Web UI will do a local RAG internal to their stack and use that to build the prompts that go off to OpenAI. But you don't really know that they're doing that. You don't really have the control over keeping the document set active. It's certainly not designed to work as a callable API, right? You have to be in their browser-based ecosystem using their tool to do it.
Yep.
So for us to be able to build this into pipelines as a standalone thing that's separate from those hardwired UIs is kind of cool.
And I think that's really important to emphasize here is that, yes, Kilroy can be an island of itself and have a ton of functionality, and we're adding more stuff to it every day from an app or module perspective. But the beauty of Kilroy is also that you can pull this stuff in really simply and easily if there's a webhook or there's a connection that we can make into the system because you did it in an afternoon.
Right.
So if you're a developer, you've got services, you've got APIs, you've got other kinds of data or applications, and you're looking for a way to offer AI services, agentic services, decentralized, that can use any model. You could pre-train your models, whatever you want to do, and you want to make them available to users or customers. Kilroy is the perfect platform for that, especially folks in the crypto industry, people that are dedicated to being and doing decentralized work. This is a fantastic play. I mean, you and I were talking some the other day about, implementation and integration with existing networks like Farcaster, et cetera. But the other part of this that's really interesting is this is a peer-to-peer swarmed network in Kilroy. So
yeah, you could be asking Tony what he thinks about your mother.
Exactly. And all of us could be chatting together with that agent, right? And accessing the RAG data. Everything
you can put your logseek data online in a way that logseek can't make it available to other people, but I could see it and talk to it and get answers out of it. Even
exactly.
The tool won't let me do it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Hey, I got to show you. This is kind of cool. This was the answer that came out of the RAG system when I said, guess what I did last night. Right. And look at all the extra spew that it's in. According to this conversation, it seems you blah, 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 blah. My answer is, don't you bring my mother into it. Well, this little guy doing the cleanup was told when there's an explicit answer, just take that, which is exactly what the combination of the two needed to do. So that's one of the things that's really powerful about Kilroy. If you were just trying to use RLlama by itself with a local browser UI to talk to it, you would get big, verbose, stupid answers like this. But one more LLM in the pipeline, and you get exactly the dialogue that you were looking for with minimum effort. I mean,
go back to the flow. Yeah. So, and I think this is important, right? That could be a cleanup agent. That could be 5 judgment agents voting on the answers of 5 other agents, right? I mean, it's endless, the structure that you can put onto a system to make sure it follows the right data, understands the rules, whatever, gives the best answer. This is all built into Kilroy, and it's easy and quick and fast and deployable and testable in seconds. So it makes a big difference. And if you are interested, if you're a developer, if you're somebody who thinks you might have a use for this, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're looking for folks to test and play and help us build. If you've got APIs or apps that you'd like to integrate, we would love to hear from you. I am B05 Crypto on Twitter, B05 Crypto on Telegram, and B05 on Farcaster. Chuck is C. Schotten on all social networks.
Awesome.
All right, dude. Great job. And thank you. And everybody have a lovely weekend. And
have a great weekend. Enjoy that. We're getting ready to get snowed on. So
you're having the big storm coming. I think my parents are going to get all the ice part of it, Georgia. So
hope to keep their electricity. See you later, man.
See ya.